doing this evening? Yeah. Thinking of others. Hello, my friend. I know who you are. You know who he is? Okay, cool. So tonight we've got a really good show for everybody. At least I think we have a good show. Y'all let us know if that AC gets too loud. It is still.
Sound is rough.
That's because I didn't turn up my mic. I'm sorry. How's that better? Sorry about that, Mary S. I think that should do it.
Still sounds the same.
Okay.
Of course.
Hit that and let's see what happens.
Because nothing we do is ever without issue.
I think it's just because of the way that the microphone is set up. I bet that's a lot better now, isn't it? Everybody. Yeah, the AC is loud. How's that? Is that better for everybody? A lot better. Good to go. Just needed to know that. And so today we're going to be talking about
Oh, for us or for her?
for us. She's going to handle her own.
We're going to talk about the benefits of having multi-purpose animals on your homestead.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But first, before we get started, y'all know what time it is?
I don't know, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. Hey, Suburban. I don't know what time. It's 8:05. What does that mean? It's time for...
It's time. That's right.
I thought we do it 10 minutes into the show.
TV screaming loud, man yelling at TV, earplugs in.
It is time for the one, the only, Homestead News anchor, Carol.
Hi, I'm Carol with the Big Bear Homestead, and today we're going to be talking about why wasps are so important. Both bees and wasps are two of humanity's most ecologically and economically important organisms. They both pollinate our flowers and crops, but wasps also regulate populations of crop pests and insects that carry human diseases. It's clear that we have a very different emotional connection to wasps than bees. We have lived in harmony with bees for a very long time, domesticating some species, but human-wasp interactions are often unpleasant as they ruin picnics and nests in our homes. Despite this, we need to actively overhaul the negative image of wasps to protect the ecological benefits they bring to our planet. They are facing similar decline to bees, and that is something the world cannot afford. Studies have revealed that wasps are indeed universally disliked by the public, and this is most likely to do with the low-level interest in nature and the lack of knowledge about the benefits wasps bring to our planet's health and function. How much research is being done to better understand these misunderstood creatures was also investigated. The researchers found that wasps are an unpopular choice for insect researchers to study, which likely compounds their negative image as little effort is being made to comprehend and communicate their positive role in the ecosystem. The scientists discovered that this by quantifying the number of scientific research papers and conference presentations for bees and wasps over the last 37 years and 16 years, respectively. Of 908 papers sampled, only 22 wasp publications were found since the 1980s, compared to 886 papers bee publications. Of 2,543 conference abstracts on bees or wasps from the last 20 years, 81.3% were on bees. Our dislike of wasps is largely shaped by a small number of species of social wasps, the yellow jackets and hornets, which represent less than 1% of stinging wasps, but are most likely to come in contact with humans. There are 67 species of social wasps, but the vast majority of wasps, in excess of 75,000 species, are solitary. The bothersome nature of social wasps fuels the perception that wasps are more dangerous than bees, although each elicits a similarly painful sting. Survey respondents were asked to provide 3 words to describe bees, butterflies, wasps, and flies, and to rank how seeing each object made them feel, regardless of their importance in the ecosystem and the environment. Analysis showed that butterflies received the highest level of positive emotion, followed closely by bees, then flies, and wasps. Overall, bees are more liked than butterflies. The researchers also found that personal interest in nature explained whether people understood the importance of wasps as natural pest controllers and predators. All insects are under the threat of climate change and habitat loss. So the team says that maintaining insect abundance and diversity should be a priority. Global concern about the decline of pollinators has resulted in the prominent level of public interest in and support of bees. It would be fantastic if this could be mirrored for wasps, but it would need to be a complete cultural shift in attitude towards wasps. The first step on the way to this would be for scientists to appreciate wasps more and provide the required research on their economic and societal value, which will then help the public understand the importance of wasps. Back to you, Jason.
Alright, I'm back. Okay. Seems you guys were saying that it was buffering real bad, and I don't know what in the world's going on. Robyn is trying to make sure everybody is off the internet here with the storms and everything that came through. Oops.
What?
Nothing. And, can you guys hear me? Okay. So we're trying to figure out what in the world is going on with the internet. I guess it's all with the storms and everything.
She off now?
Yeah.
Turn your computer off.
Oh. I guess we had too many devices on. Dun dun dun. Okay. So we apologize about that. Carol did a really good presentation, and I'm sorry you guys see the name. No buffering with us, just her.
Yeah, it's because she's got. Is her. Yeah, I don't know. It might just be the camera. I don't know. With the wireless, I don't know what
No.
she was, but we're not. Okay.
Okay. So.
Well, you know how it is at the Big Bear Homestead.
Well,
we're always ironing something out.
It may be the new Streamlabs OBS also, because I had some issues with it trying to go live.
Mm-hmm.
When we were doing all this, when we were doing all the testing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, the microphones were acting funny.
Microphones were acting funny, but anyway, we're here to have a good time.
Yep.
So, let's get to today's topic, shall we? Shall we, Buffy? Shall we get to today's topic?
We'll work on Carol's. Thanks for the input, guys. We appreciate that. I know. We have to figure out lighting. This is ridiculous because it's hot in here now too. They put off heat too. So anyway, now we're echoing. That's fantastic. Why are we echoing?
I don't know. We shouldn't be. Okay. No. Turn off that one. Okay, that should do it. That should be the one.
Oh God, kill me now. Well, but everybody's saying that Carol did an awesome job. So good job, Carol.
Let's give Carol a round of applause.
Mm-hmm. A round of applause.
Really, that was like so cheesy.
I know it. So anyway, so we were going to talk a little bit today about, I was reading an article about something we already kind of know about, but we thought we'd make sure everybody else kind of knew about as well. That, you know, there's a benefit when you're picking out animals that you want to bring onto your homestead, that there's a benefit to certain animals, and not just, you know, we always talk about dual purpose animals. So like a chicken, you know, we talk about them being able to give us eggs and meat as well. But a lot of times, a lot of these animals are way more. Is it still echoing?
No, remember, there's a delay. Peaceful Inspiration said much better.
Okay.
Seagull Country Heart
Fixed. Okay.
fixed.
So the thing is that there's a lot more to having an animal than it just being a food. You know, whether it's a cow gives you milk and beef, or this.
Are you saying that these animals that you have on your homestead should have more than one purpose?
Of course. I mean, obviously, if you're going to invest in them, and if for some reason you actually have to feed them, if you have to bring feed in, or mix feed, or grow feed, or whatever, you have to think of that also as an investment. So you have to hope that these guys are doing more than just
being a one-trick pony.
Being a one-trick pony. Did you see my ventriloquism? Like, I could throw my voice.
Oh, Jeff Dunham ain't got anything on you.
So we were going to talk a little bit about that tonight, about why, you know, it's important when you're thinking about livestock that you're aware that these animals can do more than just provide you with food or companionship. Because a lot of our people, they like to have chickens as their, you know, their little, almost like pets, and then it's a benefit that they give them eggs or something like that. But when you're running even if it's just a backyard kind of homestead, backyard, barnyard, or whatever,
A hobby farm.
right, you can still utilize these animals for more than just their eggs or their meat or whatever.
Right.
So
You can, for example, if you're a hobby farm and you're in a neighborhood and you purchase some meat rabbits. So, because you went with rabbits because they are considered a pet,
right.
and most HOAs and all those other communist things will
You got a hair on you. Sorry.
Well, you have to punch me in the throat.
I didn't.
You got a hair.
Now that's a punch to the throat. So anyways, if you're in an HOA
Mm-hmm.
and they tell you can have pets and you want to try and get around that,
With meat rabbits, then you get you some meat rabbits, you make a rabbit tractor.
mm-hmm.
Not only are these rabbits going to give you meat,
Mm-hmm.
but you can use them to mow your lawn.
Right, exactly. They'll cut down some of the grass, and then they also, as they're going to the bathroom, they're fertilizing the ground. And we've actually watched
They're not,
this.
wait a minute.
Ow.
Rabbits really don't drop a deuce because they're little pellets. They probably drop like a 1/3. Maybe a
That's like
1/16.
No. It's just,
0.33.
no. How they poop is they go.
Watch. Yeah. So it's like BBs coming out.
Can you answer some trapping questions? Yes, I can.
Oh, here we go.
I love Suburban's comment. She says, "This is why I'm a hillbilly and not a homesteader. I would end up with a petting zoo." But see, even then, if you know that they have other
Mhm.
benefits, even if you're not one to eat your, raise your animals for food, there are other things that these animals can do for you that
Right.
don't require, processing them.
Well, Dee said that her hands are also her mental therapist.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of people that do that. They have, they have rabbits that they
Mhm.
hold. They're nice and fluffy and furry, and and that can be very calming.
Or they post them on Instagram with rabbit voices.
Rabbit voices. I have a lady that I follow on Instagram that she randomly posts pictures of her beautiful little lion head bunny, and it's all white with little gray nose, and he's absolutely adorable. But I imagine that is like her kid. Like, she posts pictures like she's a proud mama, and it's actually, and I think that's why it's so popular, is because everybody, you can't help but read the captions in the rabbit voice. Like, it's hilarious. I love it. So.
But the things that we're talking about with a multi-purpose animal or a multi-purpose livestock is when if you're transitioning from a hobby farm to a homestead where you have an acre, 5 acres, or 21 acres, you're going to want to start to purchase other livestock.
Right.
Now, a lot of folks they joke and they kid and they say how some fowl are the gateway animal.
Right,
a lot of people
right.
blame chickens
Yes.
as the gateway animal, but for us it was quail.
Right.
And some other people it was Muscovy ducks and different things. So, but
usually people go with birds first,
Right.
because they're not as invasive, and you don't have to do as much with them, and housing is not usually a really big issue, that kind of thing.
But with chickens, I can't believe that just happened.
I can.
I'm so embarrassed.
So with chickens,
you obviously have your different types of birds. You've got your egg layers, your meat birds. Then you also have your dual purpose breed birds, which like your Rhode Island Reds, Buff Orpingtons, Delawares. Those are what is considered a dual purpose breed, meaning they are good layers, but they also get thick enough
right.
or meaty enough
Mm-hmm.
that they do make good fryers.
Right.
They call them fryers.
Right. So, like, for instance, if you have a leghorn, a white leghorn, or leghorn, whichever way you pronounce it,
It
Those
depends
are
on what part of
good.
the country you're from.
those are good only for eggs. They are egg-laying machines. I mean, they lay constantly. Those are the types of birds that are in your commercial laying, factories. Hey, what's up? Breakaway!
Scrape
Scrape away! So that's one that you're not going to want necessarily to be on your homestead, because it's only going to give you, now, and let me take that back. If you decide that you just want eggs and you never want meat, then by all means, get some leghorns. They don't take a lot of feed. Their conversion rate is not really high, but that's all they're going to be good for, is just for eggs.
I mean, I'm not saying this may not just be coincidence. Patrick comes in talking about, hi everybody, and everybody's like, you're buffering again. Okay, so we had a couple of questions here. ZB, okay.
This is the
ZB
first question.
Outdoors asked about trapping. Yes, I can answer trapping questions. And City Girl Country Heart says, is quail poop considered hot manure? Let me answer that one first. All fowl is considered hot manure because birds do not urinate. So basically all of their urine comes out through their poo also, so that's when they release a lot of their nitrogen.
Oh, this is a very good question.
ZB, I was wondering how I should trap my neighborhood this season for coons. I will be trapping coyotes, so that's for sure. By the way, I'm 13 in West Virginia, and this is my first season. Well, welcome to our live show. And let me see if I can answer that question. Trap in your neighborhood for coons. If you're in a subdivision or in a neighborhood and you're just targeting coons, I would use what they call the dog-proof trap.
Definitely.
The DP, aka the coon cuff. Now, we do sell traps, so you can come to us to purchase the traps, but those traps are target specific, meaning you're only going to catch raccoons, possums. I've heard rumors of people catching skunks in them, but it's going to be an animal that can grasp. He's going to want to reach down in there and grab it and pull.
Right.
Okay. You will be trapping coyotes, so that's for sure. Okay. Good luck with coyotes. Give you the best tip I can give you with coyotes is remember scent control. Scent control, scent control, scent control.
Mm-hmm. They are very, very acute. Their sense
Well, they're
of
just
smell
very
is very
skittish.
Yeah.
And coyotes will give you a challenge. The best trap for coyotes, in my opinion, again, because we are wholesalers of Minnesota Trapline products, is the MB550. Now, ZB, I was going to announce this later in the show, but I am doing a trapping class at the Homesteaders of America conference this year, right across the line from you, over in Virginia at Fort Royal. You can go to the homesteadersofamerica.com website. You can look at the class, sign up for my class. You can, if you do the first tier, you'll get a bunch of traps that'll be ready to go, and you'll get hands-on experience with setting the traps, and we'll make some sets and stuff like that while we're there at the class. Okay? Let's see, what else can I tell this young man?
Check all of your laws. If it's your first season,
Yeah.
make sure that you're familiar with all of the laws of what you're allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, that kind of thing.
Make sure that you will check these traps every 24 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a law everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely hardcore here in Georgia, but it's just...
It's responsible.
It's responsible.
Mm-hmm.
You're being ethical by doing that. Make sure you do that every 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And enjoy yourself. Don't be afraid to experiment. If you've got a coyote and you've got your dirt hole set and you've got him, you got your guide sticks in there and you got them really wide, because everybody says you don't crowd a coyote so much, but he's just not stepping on it. He's stepping all around it. Crowd him some more. Try taking him away. Do you have Trapping North American Fur Bearers by Stanley Hallbaker? Do you have that book?
It's all wood. That's a really good book.
Yeah, that is the Trapping Bible. If you do not have that one, you can go to our Amazon store and get it through Amazon. We'll get a little bit of a kickback. I'd appreciate that. And I hope that helps you out. Stay tuned because once December 1st hits here,
We'll be doing.
I'll be doing a lot of trapping videos. I'll be doing a bunch of different sets and stuff like that.
Yep. So a lot of people are offering in the comments that they've seen coyotes running all through neighborhoods, yards, outside of Mary S. doesn't live very far from us, and she, or no, that's the wrong person. Mary S. lives in a different part of the country, but she works by a police station, and her station, she said they see them, and they're not bothered by people at all. They see them during the day.
Well, here, I'm going to address that, and then we're going to get back on task.
Right.
You're starting to hear more and more and more stories about human interaction with bobcats, coyotes. What's up, John? Hey, you gonna eat that cornbread? And this is why.
Yeah, she's in Phoenix. I forgot.
The most important thing to remember is everything follows its food source. So as our human population grows, and we don't push our council members to, see how I say that? Members. I didn't say councilmen, because you women are doing it. I said council members. I'm being sensitive.
That wasn't sensitive, by the way.
What was that? Oh, to revamp downtowns, we are taking away a lot of natural environments that these animals live in all the time. So of course, as we expand out, we're invading into their territory, so we're going to see them more.
Because we're taking away their food source.
Yes. And so now they're going to be looking at your little poodles and your little cats as food sources. Plus, and I don't want to get Suburban upset, because she's one of my heroes when it comes to this, because she takes in rescue animals. But those fools that go out to a country road and they drop off their dog, or they drop off their cats, those dogs, if he has an alpha male personality, or even if he has a beta personality, he could enter a pack of coyotes, start breeding with the females. If he's not fixed, he'll start breeding with the females. Then he has now passed on that trait where he's not as afraid of humans. So now, that's why you hear a lot of people call them coy dogs. They're a hybrid. They're mixed between a domesticated breed of a dog and a coyote. Those are extremely dangerous.
Right. So, enough about the trapping. Let's go back. We were talking about rabbits.
Well, we're talking about when you purchase an animal, it having more than one purpose, more than one reason for your homestead. Now, goats. I seen somebody mention something about some goats. Goats are the ones that I say, and this is me, I say that if you're going from a neighborhood situation where you're on a quarter of an acre, half an acre plot, and you buy yourself some raw land and you build your house, or you get a situation like ours where you purchase some land and it has the house on it, but nobody's really managed it, taken care of it, or it's got a lot of wooded area and you want to open it up. Goats should be in my opinion, one of your first animals that you buy. Because, look, I know you hate goats.
I do not like goats.
But goats will clear out some land. If you've got super tall grass in there, see, goats like to get up on their hind legs and eat high. So any privet, any brush, trees, they'll eat bark. They'll eat the tops of the grass. That kind of stuff.
Right.
They'll start the clearing process. Then you can bring in your other herbivores, your cows, your sheep,
Right.
somebody else that will help trim that grass back down to the bottom.
Right. Exactly.
Then, if you want to take that area and put a garden there,
Mm-hmm.
then you run your pigs.
Right.
Okay? So your goats are coming in, you bring your goats in first,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're clearing that area. So then what else do you got? What else do you get out of the goats then, right? Well, you can. She does not like it, but I will eat it all day long and twice on Sunday. Goat meat is good. I love curry goat. I think it is phenomenal.
Mm-mm.
Put it in a crock pot, or you slow cook that puppy with the curry sauce. Mix it all up. Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
Make you slap your mama.
No. I'll tell you, I mean, we raised goats for a little while, and I think, and this is something we'll probably cover a little bit more in the next week when we talk, but when you start to add livestock to your homestead, don't add one.
Mm-mm.
Don't ever add just one. And take it from us when we tell you, don't ever add just one. A lot of these animals, when you start putting livestock on your homestead, a lot of them are herding animals. So I can't even look up now. A lot of them are herding animals, and so you want to have more than one animal. The more you have, the better they behave.
Well, not only the better they behave, but it's the better health.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole reason why Joel Salatin calls his farms polyphase.
Right.
More than one, and you don't want to fall into the monoculture realm.
Right.
You definitely want to have a variety.
But we're gonna talk about that next week.
Yes.
Because we're so passionate about that. We could talk for like ever about that. So anyway, so what I was getting ready to say is with the goats, we only had like 2. And really you need to have like
A bunch.
10 or 15 of them together so that they'll kind of, do their own thing and they'll be more efficient and they'll clean up. And I mean, I cannot argue with that for me, if I were to have goats, it would be like I would be letting somebody else bring their goats onto our property for a little while. I wouldn't be keeping them.
See, with goats, you got the meat, then you also got dairy products.
If it's a dairy goat, right? Because there are meat and dairy goats too.
Right,
so.
there are, but also, I mean, you can still milk a meat breed of goats when they have a kid. And the reason why I'm bringing this up and talking like this, where you're like, oh, God, he's talking like I don't know what he's talking about again.
No.
But they make great nannies for any other animal that you have on your homestead.
Except I will argue this. Usually when a meat animal has its baby, it's usually only supplying enough for its baby and maybe if it has a twin. So that's the other thing you gotta kind of be careful of. You don't want to take you don't want to take the milk away from its baby either. So, but with dairy, and that's one thing you'll hear us talk about when we talk next week, is if it has an option to be a dairy animal, we're gonna be using it.
Yeah. Because see, goat cheese makes what kind? I mean, goat's milk makes what kind of
Feta.
cheese? Feta. Everything's better with the feta.
Yes.
I love some feta. Plus, you can use the goat's milk to make
yogurt. Soap. Yeah, a lot of people use goat's milk for soap.
Yep.
So goats can definitely have more than just the purpose of eating them. You can use them for pasture management and things like that.
You can use them to clear some land, help manage some pasture, meat, as a nanny, dairy products.
Well, and another thing too is they're not as expensive as some of the other animals that you can get.
In a while.
Huh?
Goats have gotten expensive.
Well, okay, so they used to not be.
Yeah.
When you're talking about adding cows can be expensive. When you do goats, one, they're a little bit smaller, so a little bit easier to manage. And two, you can add more you know, we were talking about population. If you wanted to do 10, you could afford 10 goats before you could afford 10 cows.
Probably.
Is what I'm getting at. Is that, you know, a lot of times, like when we were buying cows, I mean, a cow was $1,000 if it was a decent, you know, almost adult cow. But, you know, a goat might be a couple $100.
Yeah.
So.
And so when you're thinking about your livestock that you want to bring on your farm, don't just get tunnel. Like, the whole purpose of this live stream tonight is to say this one simple line. When you're buying livestock, don't get tunnel vision. Don't focus in on, I'm going to get a purebred Black Angus steer because that Black Angus steer is the best meat. Or I'm going to get a purebred Yorkshire because they produce the best bacon. And I'm going to get a purebred blah, blah, blah. Because here's the thing. One, any registered purebred animal is going to cost you 3 to 4 times more than a mixed breed animal. And especially with cows, this is gospel with cows, and I'm seeing it with pigs, is that if you get a purebred American guinea hog or a purebred Yorkshire or mulefoot, it takes them longer to reach butchering weight. So that means you gotta feed them more. Whether you're throwing slop or letting them run around on pasture,
or you're growing stuff,
or you're
whatever.
growing your own fodder, you got to pump more to them for them to put on this weight. Versus, now make sure you listen to what I'm saying. Purebreds versus a mixed breed grow slower. The purebreds grow slower than the mixed breeds.
In our experience, that's what we've found. Yeah.
And everywhere else I've read too, they all say the same thing. For people that like us that are raising it to eat and to sell, you want a quick turnaround time. Okay, you don't want, now when I say that, don't start blowing up the chat talking about, yeah, you're gonna be a CAFO. No, I'm talking about a quick turnaround time as a homesteader, not as a CAFO. I'm not throwing tons of feed to these animals and stuff like that.
But there's something to be said about a pig that'll grow in a summer versus one that takes 2 years, you know, or 18 months. If you feed them more, won't they gain weight quicker?
No.
Well, and not necessarily even that, though. You don't want to be, if you, like with pigs, for example, when we put them out on pasture, they're going to regulate themselves on what they eat. But even then, they're not going to grow.
To answer her question, yes and no. If you have, we'll use pigs as an example because that's where you were going. If you take the pigs and you put them in a small pig pen, and you just pour feed to them,
right?
Yeah, of course, the more feed that you pour to them,
right,
the more they will eat. Now, this is where you got to kind of watch yourself, because then that animal could become fatty. Can get way too much fat.
Yeah, you want meat, not fat. Exactly.
If you have these animals out on pasture and you're bringing out a slop bucket with some feed and stuff in it and you're pouring them a lot, no, they are going to pretty much grow at the same rate because they're still going to be out there walking around and moving around. The only problem is that the only thing they're really going to eat is what you're pouring to them, and then that kind of really defeats the purpose of
putting them out on pasture.
Right. Because one of the reasons why you want to put them out on pasture is you want them to get the natural stuff, the stuff that the way that God made them to eat, and it makes them healthier, and then makes them leaner, where you get muscle, not fat.
Right. Now, you can be on the back end of that, though, is we've actually, our pigs, from letting them free range or being pasture raised, there's almost no fat on them because we have 21 acres that they have access to. And so they do a lot of walking, and so they don't, I mean, we have to add fat to ours.
Yeah. And, and another thing when it comes to pigs, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek of a video that's going to be coming out Monday, because we're putting out a video raising pigs for meat on Monday. One of the major things that people have to keep into consideration is a pasture-raised pig is not going to taste the same as pork that you buy in the store. And I'm going to leave it at that. Josh Little Gardener, J Meadow. Hello, sir.
Yeah, that and so okay, so now we were talking about pigs. Let's go ahead and talk about what's some multi-purposes of pigs.
If you've watched my intro to raising pigs or one of my raising pigs videos, and you probably don't know what I'm getting ready to say. If you own a homestead of anything of any size, anything over an acre, you should have breeding pigs.
Right. You should have a breeding.
If you've got an acre, then you should come to somebody like me and buy a wiener pig and raise it. A pig is a must-have animal for anybody with a homestead. The Irish call the pig the gentleman that pays the rent. He is probably the most, out of all livestock that you can have, chickens, rabbits, quail, ducks, cows, goats, sheep, out of all those livestock, donkeys, llamas, alpacas, children trying to come in while you're doing a live stream. They are a work horse.
Yeah,
okay?
they definitely earn their keep.
Yeah, they pay for their keep and the keep of the chickens and the cows. And this is why. You get pork.
Obviously. Bacon, I mean, need I say more?
You get lard. Now, Mama, tell them everything that they can do with some lard.
Oh, gosh. So, with lard, you can do candles. You can do soap. You can use it to flavor other meats.
You can cook with it.
You can cook with it. Yeah, I mean, you can make, you know...
Quiet a squeaky hinge.
Yeah. So, yeah, and one thing, like right now, and we were talking about it earlier, how our pigs are less fatty. That's part of the reason why we started raising the lard pig, the guinea hog, is because they're built differently so that they will, you know, get a little fattier. And, you know, we've been blessed. We have like almost 50 piglets now. So, you have miracle pigs like Jason and Robyn have.
We almost have more pigs than there are people here in Elberton.
Look, we walked out there the other day, and now, you know, not only do we have the lard pigs having babies, we have a breeding trio of meat pigs, and we started noticing about a month ago that they were starting to show, and so we're like, okay, well... So, need to start selling pigs. So
those are just the obvious things that you get out of pigs. Tell me one thing that's not so obvious that all pigs also do. It's the reason why the Irish call him the gentleman that pays the rent.
They clean up all of my acorns out on my property that I don't get a chance to get. I don't have to worry about a bunch of seedlings popping up in the pasture.
Pasture management.
There you go.
They also do land clearing.
Yes, they will. The area that we have the lard pigs in right now used to be completely overgrown. Had a tree knocked down on it, a whole bunch of other stuff, and that area is barren to the point where we're gonna have to move them out onto pasture because we have so many out there that we have to do that. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, they will clear an area with no problem. They'll get roots up out of the ground Like if you have an area where you had a tree go down and you want the roots gone,
They'll move it.
They'll move
remove a
them.
stump.
yeah, they'll get a
Give them
stump
enough
up.
time.
Yeah, so
Okay. Not only will they clear the land,
uh-huh.
but they will also bust it up.
Right.
Because like if you're wanting to put out a garden, one of the first things that you do if it's the first time you're trying to put the garden out, you want to run some discs over it before you till it. You want to break that garden up.
But what if you don't have discs?
That's when you gotta get pigs.
That's when you gotta have pigs. And that's what we ran into. When we first got here, there was an area that we wanted to grow a garden in, but we knew that that garden area was a little lacking. So we just hooked it up to where we put the pigs in there.
It wasn't just lacking, it's just you put that rear time
it's
tiller
hard.
on there and it's like,
So
kapow.
Yeah.
You know, so you let them
Excuse me.
go out there and bust it up.
That's correct.
Now, while they're out there rooting around and
Mhm.
busting that ground up for you,
Mhm.
what else are they doing?
Well, they're pooping everywhere.
They're pooping and peeing everywhere.
Yes.
So they're adding natural fertilizer and elements back to that ground.
And the other thing too is if you're pouring like what we did this summer, we had our garden, and if we had spoiled stuff, we would throw the spoiled stuff out there. Well, if they didn't like it, if they didn't eat it, then they would also till that into the ground. So now we have like composted ground as well. So the area that they're in now, the ground is really fertile because they've not only have they pooped in it and tossed it around and moved everything around, but they've also, you know, if there's any scraps of lettuce or anything like that that they really didn't like, they would, you know, they'll toss that around in the ground and compost it as well. So that's another thing that, you know, that area is nice and fertile. So if you ever wanted to get an area ready for planting, you could set up a small area, you know, let them, you know, till it up, clean it out, fertilize it, and then, you know, maybe let it lay, like maybe if, you know, if it's like a long-term thing, you run some, even if you're not planning on just going with pigs constantly, if you just did weaner pigs and you did some just for that 1 year, that summer, and then you process them that fall, that following spring, man, your ground is going to be so ready for a garden, like it'll be in good shape to be able to plant. So
one of the other things that you can use pigs for is if you have a pond,
yes,
you can use them to repair a hole in the dam.
Yes.
Because they will, as they're trying to cool off, because pigs don't sweat, they will cool off and they'll root around in there, and then they'll start wallowing around and they'll compact that mud and fix that hole.
Yes.
So we've talked about goats and the multi-purposes of goats. We've talked about pigs. Now pigs they've also got one other really cool important job. They are your garbage disposal.
Oh yeah. Any spoiled food?
Because stuff that dairy, meat, citrus, stuff that you don't want to put in your compost because you're worried about it attracting possums, coons, and stuff like that because it won't break down fast enough, and you don't have black soldier flies.
Yeah, you can give it to the
pigs. You
pigs.
can give it to the pigs. They will eat it.
Or stomp it into the ground.
Or stomp it into the ground.
Yep. Yep.
So that's like 6 or 7 different things just from one animal that you can use. You know, and it's amazing how people look at me and they say, "Man, you're crazy at 43 years old to be trying to do a homestead. Man, you should have a nice job and be, you know, thinking about retirement in the next 10, 15 years." And I'm like, I'm already thinking about retirement. This is my retirement because I'm using these animals to do all of the hard labor.
Right.
I'm not going out there with a scythe or with a weed whacker or a chainsaw to clear out some of this land. No. I'm going to put posts in the ground. I'm going to run some electric wire and I'm going to turn the pigs out or I'm going to turn the goats out. Then that does all of the hard labor for me. You know, if I got an area in a pasture that's just not producing well, no matter how many times I run the cows, then the chickens, then the sheep, then the goats, then the turkeys over it, it just won't produce, well, it's time to till it up. So, what do? Put the pigs on it.
Oh yeah.
Let them stay on it for, depending on the size, 2-3 weeks a month. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months.
And that's depending on how much you want it tilled
Mhm.
up too. Yeah. And one of the things that we run into here though is that we have this Georgia mud, clay mud. And so a lot of times they get to tilling it up and then it gets wet and then it dries. Then it's really hard.
Mhm.
So that's the other thing too. Sometimes that can be.
Yeah. And so every time that you're thinking about a different type of livestock,
Mhm.
goats we talked about, pigs we talked about, chickens we talked about,
Oh yeah.
cows.
Mhm.
Cows are the same thing. You got your meat breeds, you got your dairy breeds.
Mhm.
Okay? But they do more than just give you a steak or a milkshake.
Mhm.
See what I did there?
Mhm.
Steak.
And shake. I got it. Now I all of a sudden know.
Want to go to Athens.
Mhm.
They cut your grass.
Definitely.
They provide you with an income. Just like every one of your animals can also provide you with income.
Right.
Chickens, you can sell eggs or you can sell the meat.
Or you can sell chicks. Like that's the thing is sometimes, you know, like all these piglets that we have, we are certainly not going to raise 50 piglets. We're not. We're not set up to do that. And
Well,
not right now.
We're kind
If
of
we-
set up to do it. It's just I don't want to do it.
No. If we had our cows, if they were all in milk, it would be easy. It would be good to go. But the way that we're set up, I don't want to be chasing after 50 piglets. It's just not fun.
You ain't got to chase them. You better get on back to your mama.
Oh yeah, yeah. So right now, where they are, they can get out from underneath the fence from the adults, and they will every morning. I look out my window, and they're all huddled around some of the chicken tractors where some of the feed.
I think the
Like
chickens
as
are
we
doing
move
it.
them, well, as we move them, there's still a little bit of feed left over sometimes, and they will scratch and eat and dig it up and do all of that stuff, and it's hilarious to watch them because you'll walk up on them and they're like, doo-doo-doo, just minding their own business, and then you're like, what are you doing? And they take off and go back. Pretty funny.
Suburban Hillbilly asked, she was wondering how she was going to keep up her little house and yard as they age. She asked what plans that we have.
We're actually going to do a video on that.
I was gonna
We were
say
talking
that
about
out
that today.
Your answer's coming.
Yeah, we've been thinking about that since Blaze.
Since we started.
Right, but we started thinking about it then. But we've really started putting things into effect probably over the last year and a half, 2 years. Because we know, Blaze is getting older. He's almost out of the house.
Don't ruin the video.
Girls are getting older, so, got to think of some things. So
Can you let
quail go in and run like chickens? You can.
Yes.
I would recommend, though, you have to do one of two things. You either need to make it kind of small so that you're not really encouraging them to do a lot of flight, or you need something tall that they will do flight, because you don't want them to be kind of in between and like constantly, you know what I'm saying? Don't you agree with that? Yeah. So yeah, quail's good to go, but quail
are wonderful.
They're their own beast.
But they all have multiple. When you're, again, back to the main idea, the main concept of this, what we're talking about tonight, is that when you are looking at an animal that you want to raise, don't look at a Jersey Holstein and think, wow, she's going to give me 5 gallons of milk each milking. I milk her twice a day. That's 10 gallons of milk a day. Woo, yes. No, that's not all she's doing for you. She's going to keep grass cut for you. She's going to, you're going to get 10 gallons of milk where you can make butter, you can make cheese, you can make yogurt, you can do all this kind of stuff with it. But she's also going to take the grass and she's going to eat it. And then she's going to drop it out the back end for wonderful, natural fertilizer for you.
And man, that's some good fertilizer.
And then when she gets to the point where her milk production has gotten too low,
Mm-hmm.
you butcher her. And then she gives you a couple 100 pounds of ground beef.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to do much more with her, but ground beef is perfect.
You know, and then if you're adventurous, you can take her hide and turn it into the leather, and you can make an
Aprons, whatever.
pants,
Mm-hmm.
purses, whatever.
Yeah. So one of the things I just read, All This Dirt was saying that she never did get into them because basically it cost more to raise them than what she got out of them. So the thing with that is that we got to a point where we were able to raise them. We found a niche where we could sell them as birds. And not just, we had enough to where they were paying for their upkeep, basically. So it's kind of trying to find that sweet spot of whether it's, you know, and like...
Check your local laws.
Yes, definitely.
We learned the hard way that the moment you start selling quail, you are considered a quail breeder. And at least in the state of Georgia and in South Carolina,
You have to have
a quail breeder's license.
That's
All right,
funny.
Brenda Duncan, thank you for subscribing.
So yeah, that is definitely one of those things that you have to keep up with, and we had the fortunate we were fortunate that we knew we did a lot of FaceTime with the people up at DNR, and so when when we found out about it, it wasn't about getting a ticket, it was just give me the money.
And if Dutch, you're fixing to get into quail, go ahead and watch our quail video, how to keep quail the basics. I think that's what I got it titled now. And in that video, I show you our very first quail setup, and I also show you how to how to be able to sex
the quail,
male from female with a Japanese Coturnix quail, because there's something that you have to look for to be able to, the only way you'll be able to tell. What's up from Zero to Homestead?
North Georgia, that might be close to us.
No, he's
Other side?
that away.
Oh, is he
Yeah.
closer to, what's her name, Rose?
Yeah.
I know we're gonna have chickens. I have to call the extension office about quail. Yeah, I mean,
Do we have quail? No, we
Not
kind of
right now.
ate all of our
we ate them
quail.
all.
But I'm probably, I don't know if I'm going to, I may wait till after the conference to go get more from this guy. But we have a guy that's relatively close by. That's all he does is breed quail.
Mm-hmm.
And so we may go pick up, so we're definitely going to pick up some Coturnix. But I may want to try my hand with some Georgia Giants and the Texas A&M.
A&Ms, yeah.
Yeah.
Some really cool breeds out there
Yeah.
for quail.
Now, here's another, because quail is considered, in most states,
It's a game.
quail is considered a game bird.
Yeah.
Hey Brenda, thank you for subscribing.
Yeah, they're considered a game bird. Where
Yes.
now with chickens, if you start butchering chickens, at least in Georgia, you have you can't do more than 1,000, I think, a year or something like that.
If you're selling them.
Yeah, if you're selling them. So, there's a lot of different, you got to be really aware. It's one thing we tell people when you start homesteading, definitely check all of your laws. If you have any kind of neighborhood covenants, anything like that, you need to make sure you check those before you do, you start anything.
Now, Dutch, I can't remember if your chickens, if you have them in a coop with a run, or if you rotate them out on pasture. But if you have them in a coop with a run, build your quail cage off of your coop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like if this is your coop, go ahead and cut a hole in your coop. We'll give them access to the inside of your coop for a little bit, and then have them their own run on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Feed them out here. All quail. I have not met one yet, but all quail are extremely messy eaters.
Whether it's pellets or crumbles,
Crumble.
doesn't matter.
I say, my personal opinion is just feed the crumble.
Mm-hmm.
It's super high in protein, but feed the crumble. Quail are messy eaters, so when they're in there eating, they're going to be dropping some of that crumble onto the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well let your chickens get it. That'll help with your egg production. That will keep that up. Also, do a maggot bucket with your quail and with your chickens all in the same thing. Have a smaller maggot bucket for your quail inside the quail in the run, and then have your big maggot bucket out there for your birds. Also, no quail. I haven't found a breed yet. Quail do not go broody.
That we know of. We've never seen them go broody ever.
I don't know how they survive in the wild.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it. But the Coturnics do not go broody. I know that by 1,000%.
Yeah.
Rumor has it that the Georgia Giants and the Texas A&M will, and that a bobwhite will.
We've
but
always
they're few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the populations are always so kind of low out in the wild. A lot of it is predation, but again, a lot of them, they just don't go broody. Unlike a wild turkey, and just about every hen goes broody. But in the quail world, not many go broody. So if you want to be sustainable with it, make sure you have an incubator.
Yeah.
But if you do the Coturnics, you got to do the Japanese Coturnics, and you got to do the Cajun pickled eggs at least once.
No. Unless you want to sign up for a divorce.
Yeah.
So the problem with the quail population, my family just always hunted them one shotgun blast and picked up several. Yeah. So, and there's a lot of breeders out there that's what they breed them for.
Yeah.
They'll breed 200-300 of them, 1,000 of them, and so
Well, that's one of the reasons why I want to try my hands with the Bob White and with the Georgia Giants. Is I'm going to build what they call a fly cage or a fly coop for them, and it's just a big chicken run.
All right.
But it gives them the ability to fly, because quail fly short distances. They go up real fast, and then they come down, and then they run some more. And a lot of these hunting clubs pay, at least around here, $7 to $10 a bird, but they gotta see them fly. If they won't fly, then they won't buy them. But they'll come in and they'll order 300, 400, 500,000 birds from you.
Right.
And
so that's another purpose for.
And then it's always around quail season when they do it. It's the only time that they'll do it. When they got a big hunt coming up, they'll order a bunch of them from you. And if you get one hunting club to do it, you're golden.
Because the cool thing, and I don't know, the Bob Whites, they're still, what are they, how long are they to maturity? It's longer, like what,
they're
12
like 10 or 12
weeks. I can't remember, but they don't take, they're reasonably shorter than a chicken, I believe, on starting to lay eggs. So you can start incubating them a lot quicker. With the Coturnics, they're only like 6 to 8. Yeah. So they start laying eggs pretty quick, and a lot of people don't know this, but their fertility rate
is through the roof.
As long as you have a decent breed, you don't have like it's the breed's been watered out and crossed so many times. But if you get a decent breed, or a decent bird, their fertility is off the charts.
Yeah, the Coturnics, I think Fried Squash did one straight out of Coturnics. I think in that video he tells you all kinds of things that Coturnics quail was used for back in the day.
Yeah.
And
but they definitely.
But if you want to raise for hunting clubs and stuff, you got to make sure that you're doing the right breeds, because you can't turn loose the Japanese Coturnic quail to hunt. That's going to be more like your Georgia Giant, or at least in my state, the Georgia Giants, your Bob Whites, Texas A&Ms.
Mostly the Bob Whites, so.
Backyard Eden Sustainable Urban Homestead. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Thanks for stopping by. But again, so don't when you're expanding your homestead, or if you're going, I want to try my hand at, like, okay, if your significant other is not really on, where our lights are starting to go down, is not really keen on the idea of you homesteading. This is how you win them over.
Cook them dinner. No, I'm kidding.
You say, look, baby, I want to get a dairy cow. Why you, what? No, I don't want to get, milk prices is fixing to go up. That means butter's going to go up. That means cream's going to go up. That means ice cream's going to go up. Yogurt, all this kind of stuff's going to go up. That week, we get one dairy cow. We can make.
Mm-hmm.
And you start laying out all of the things this one animal will do for you. Look, we're going to get milk. We're going to make butter. We're going to make cream. We're going to make whipping cream. We're going to have this. We're going to have that. And you know how hard it is for our garden because our soil stinks. There's no party going on in there. Well, her doo-doo. I can scoop up the poo, put it in some compost, let it compost over winter, toss it out onto the garden.
Yep.
And our yield will increase 10-fold, 20-fold, guarantee it.
Well, and the other thing that we've learned is that the spoiled hay that they don't, you know, when you pull hay out for them, that spoiled hay that they, you know, they stomp around in, they poop in it, they do all that stuff in it, that stuff is like liquid gold. You take that, or gold, not liquid, but, you know, it kind of can get a little liquidy. By the time we pick it up, it's usually kind of in that crossover stage. But it's gold because you've got it started to it started to compost and break down just a little bit, but it's still got enough integrity to it that you can use it for like a barrier control. And it'll break down over time and help feed the soil as well. So that's another, you know, positive byproduct. To add to that. So I'm just going to move to Elberton.
So when you're thinking about purchasing an animal for your homestead, don't rifle in on it's a cow, so I'm going to get milk, or it's a chicken, I'm going to get eggs.
Right.
All of these things all have more than one purpose.
Right.
Stay away, at least from the homesteading aspect, stay away from your registered animals. Stay away from your purebreds. Get the mutts. Get the Jersey Holstein cross.
Well, the problem is with that is that people demand more money for those. And I think that's kind of, we hadn't really been...
Yes, they demand more money for them, but they also they don't produce as much. Think about Daisy. Jersey Holstein cross. She produces, when we had Cheddar, who was solid Holstein.
Right.
Okay. Daisy is producing just as much milk as Cheddar was when we poured the same amount of feed.
Okay, yes.
She produces the same amount of milk. But Daisy's butter fat content is a lot higher.
Because she was a crossbreed.
Because
exactly.
she was a crossbreed.
And I think we're going to find that with we had these guinea hogs that were just miraculously conceived. I believe it was with a wild boar who is more of a meat animal. And I think you're going to find that they're going to grow a little bit faster because the guinea hog grows a lot slower. But because they're half of that, you may have a little bit more, a quicker growing animal. Plus, I think it might be a little bit more even. They might not be all lard. They might not be all meat. They might be just a happy mixture of the two. So, you know, that's another thing to be said about crossbreeding is that, or mutts or whatever you want to call them, is when you can start taking different things from different breeds, then you're starting to maximize what that animal can do for you too. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. That's one thing we were looking at with chickens. You know, you got Rhode Island Reds and you got Buff Orpingtons. Well, we love Buff Orpingtons because of the size eggs that they grow, and they're a bigger, you know, they're a meaty bird. Rhode Island is right close to them, but they're a little bit smaller. In our experience, Buffs are a little bit bigger. But when you cross a Buff and a Rhode Island and put it together, it's not only a laying machine, but they also grow pretty big, and they're not that gold color that sticks out for a predator, but they're not that bright brown red color either that sticks out for a predator. They're kind of a blend of the two.
Mhm.
So, there's a lot of things that you can attain when you have something that's more of a mutt breed. They're starting to pull in different things from different breeds, so that's good too. So let's see.
Mhm.
That's the reason that we started crossing animals in the first place. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
we're going to open it up for about 5 or 10 minutes for questions.
Mm.
You guys have any questions about the different animals that we have raised? Trapping questions, essential oils questions, beekeeping questions, anything along those lines. Make sure you put it in all caps so I can see it in the chat box, and we will answer them. Isn't an Easter egger a dual-purpose bird?
they're not as big.
They don't get as big. They're more of an egg layer.
And really, most people get Easter eggers because they produce colored eggs. And, they have a different range of blues and greens. And that's most of the reason why people buy those. They don't buy them for... And now, they could be turned into a stew bird, but that would probably be about it. They don't get super big like a buff Orpington does. One thing we learned, lavender Orpingtons, that was one of the things that I would love to have, but they're expensive, and we found out that they're not the greatest of egg layers, but they're a heck of a meat bird. So we're hoping to be able to try some of those soon.
What does sheep taste like?
Heaven.
Well, you have lamb, and then you have mutton.
You have lamb and you have mutton.
Lamb is great.
Heaven. It's heaven. It's
mutton,
amazing.
I liked it.
It's good. It's got a little bit, I don't want to say gamey, but it's got a little bit more of a heavier flavor to it. So,
what do you think about true breeds that are multi-purpose? For example, Delawares.
I like Delawares. Delawares are huge. The males get pretty big. But, and again, in our experience, around here, they stick out like a sore thumb for a hawk or a eagle or whatever. They are an eye catcher because that white up against green grass, brown dead grass, whatever, the white sticks out. And then that black feathering that's all, it really attracts. It's a huge eye attractant in our opinion. We have a hard time keeping white birds around here. Even though we have one ninja chicken, she's like this big, and she manages to stay ahead of everybody. But white chickens, in our opinion, not so much. Now, as far as a dual-purpose breed chicken, I'm not against buying a true breed, a purebred, but at the same time,
I would like to take the size. I like to take the size of the Delaware and breed it with Rhode Islands.
Rhode Islands, yeah.
So then that way, if I get a rooster, I can get the size of a Delaware, but with the aggressiveness
of
and the protective nature of a Rhode Island.
Yes.
It's all on what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I like to take and try to pull the traits that I want that works great for my homestead versus worrying about whether or not it's a dual purpose.
Well, and then the other thing too is if you're strictly looking for meat and eggs and you're not trying to sell them as pure breeds for another source of income, in that case, you kind of get what you can, and you may have a purebred Delaware, you may have a purebred whatever, and you're not going to be able to control who breeds with who mates with who. So when you hatch things out, you're going to have some crossbreed stuff anyway. And in my experience, all the ones that we've had that were the mutt birds produced better. They were, they just did better. And so, I mean, you can get a pure breed. You're gonna pay more for those. You know.
Okay, best way to trap skunks, opossums, and armadillos. All right.
Totally different.
Skunks. Skunks, the best way to trap a skunk is with, in my opinion, the safest way is with a cage. Now, I absolutely hate have-a-heart cages. They're weak. They don't stand up to multiple uses. Their doors and trigger systems, sometimes they fire, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the door closes solid, sometimes it doesn't. I like tomahawk. And if the negotiations go the way that we're hoping they'll go, you'll be able to purchase tomahawk traps from us. They are a solid cage trap, but tomahawk also offers what they call the skunk sleeve for their tomahawk traps. And it's a protective sleeve that slides over the sides of the trap to hide you from said skunk. Now, do you need that? No. You need to go to the Goodwill, Salvation Army, find an old ratty blanket that really nobody wants. Give them a couple of bucks for it, and that's your skunk blanket.
Yeah.
And then when you catch them in the cage, you hold the blanket out in front of you,
so they don't
low enough so that they don't see your feet. You walk up to the cage and you throw said blanket over it. If he sprays the blanket, not you. Yes, it's still going to stink. Yes, you're probably still going to cough and hack. But then you can pick him up and then go drown him. That's the best way. I've caught him in footholds. Not a very good day. I've caught them in coyote sets. I've caught them in fox sets. I've caught them in coon sets. I've never caught one in a dog proof, but that'll probably happen this year because I keep telling it.
Everybody.
I keep saying I've never caught one in a dog proof, and God's like, oh really? Watch this. Now
So
the
that's
other one,
skunks.
possums.
Possums are dumb.
Possums you can catch in an empty cage. You can catch in a foothold, or you can catch in the coon cuff, the dog proof traps. I prefer to catch them in the coon cuff because if you catch them in a cage, you can't get them out of the cage. They're a pain in the butt to get out of the cage.
You have to hold the cage on the ground and smack it.
Or get one of your buddies to hold the cage and you reach in there and grab him by the tail, and then you have to fight him to get him out if he's still alive. Armadillos. Armadillos will root up a yard. You will think that you got little pigs in your yard.
Little holes.
Or you got all these little holes and these little runs and everything. The best thing to do for the armadillos is to get a cage. And then get yourself some 2x6s or 2x8s and build a funnel. Like if this is the cage, my wife's hand is the cage, and you got a whole bunch of rooting going on right here. Okay? You take lengths of 2x6s, 2x8s, and you build a funnel to the trap. As farther you go out, the wider it gets. And what'll happen is, as he's rooting along, he's got his head down. He's not looking. You don't even have to put anything in the cage. Rooting along, boop, he'll hit the 2x6 and he'll turn. And then he'll root, boop. It'll be like a ping pong ball. Boom, 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 boom. Or he'll hit it and just walk right up to it.
And just keep going.
And then he goes right into the cage, hits the door, closes the door, you come out in the morning, you got an armadillo.
Yeah. So. Tastes like chickens.
Yeah. So that's also about it. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys. We ran almost 30 minutes over today,
Oopsie.
but that's okay. We apologize for the buffering and the technical difficulties that we had in the beginning. We're gonna talk to our provider and find out what's going on with Streamlabs. Maybe it was something with that, and hopefully we'll have it fixed for you next week. Don't forget to check us out at our website, www.bigbearhomestead.com, which I have to put that stuff back up there and get it strolling back down across for you guys. And please check out our shop We've got everything from traps to crocheted items to dream catchers to soap, all kinds of things. Just some of the things we don't even have up there yet.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. Please check those out. If you'd like to help support this channel, you can join the Big Bear Friends group. It's $5 to join it. You'll be part of a private group on Facebook where you'll get recipes, predator control tips, gardening tips, livestock tips, all kinds of things like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have different tiers for that, and with each tier comes a different thing, but the basic membership is $5.
Yep.
Does that pretty much cover everything?
It does.
Don't forget the Homesteaders of America's Conference. The classes are October the 11th. The conference goes the 12th and the 13th. I am speaking first thing in the morning on the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So get there early. And if you got problems with predators or you're just starting out homesteading, definitely need to consider my class to be able to protect your livestock.
Yep.
I think that's about it, right?
I think that's about it.
Don't forget Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
No, Stevie, that's not on Patreon. It is literally through our website. You can go to our website, bam, hit it, and then we'll add you to the Facebook group. And if you get one of the tiers where you got one of the boxes, we will get that out to you most wiki tick. Right?
Yep.
All right. You guys remember, be kind to one another. You don't know what that person is going through. You don't know the stressors that they could be having in their life. They could have just lost a loved one. They could have just lost their job. 9 times out of 10, they didn't mean to be ugly to you or cut you off or anything. They were just had something else on their mind and got distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Please do your best to recycle, repurpose, and reuse. Give our wildlife a chance. Get in your county commissioners' faces. Tell them to revitalize their downtowns. Tell them to give tax breaks and stuff to people that offer recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Get them to start thinking about getting off of the dependence of foreign oil and using renewable energy, solar, wind, water, all those kinds of things. Help give our wildlife a chance and this planet a chance. You guys, thanks for coming by. Anything else you want to say?
No. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.